Well, quite a few things went down in that movie, huh, JLaw? What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Red Sparrow. Based on the novel of the same name, written by Jason Matthews, the plot basically follows a Russian ballerina played by Jennifer Lawrence who, after a career-ending accident and witnessing something that she was not supposed to see, she is given one of two choices: die or become an intelligence officer, aka a Sparrow. And with that, she is sent to make contact with a CIA agent played by Joel Edgerton in hopes of discovering a mole. Going into this movie, I was very much looking forward to it. Yes, this movie originally came out last week, so I'm a little late in seeing and reviewing it. The Oscars were last week, so I was busy with that. But like I've said, this movie stars Jennifer Lawrence in the lead role, who I have said on multiple occasions in past videos is my favorite film actress of this generation. And this also has her reteaming with her Hunger Games director, Francis Lawrence, of which there's no relation, in something that looks grittier than the already dark subject matter that the Hunger Games films had with this spy thriller. Starting out with the cast and their performances, Jennifer Lawrence once again backs up why she is my current favorite film actress of this generation, giving a superb performance that is also a daring one at that. We see her as this ballerina who provides for herself and her ill mother, and then when her career ends after breaking her leg in a gruesome fashion and given an option to become a Sparrow, we see all the layers that is going on with her and how complex of a character she is emotionally. And she has a lot of range in terms of that, while she is very gutsy, but also has a tendency to show how vulnerable she is inside. Also, Lawrence's accent in the movie is iffy. A bunch of the accents in the movie are iffy for that matter, but it never had a tendency to bother me too much throughout because I was still captivated by her overall performance. Some of the supporting players here include Joel Edgerton as the CIA agent that Lawrence's character is tasked to link up with, and they have nice chemistry together when on screen. And he was interesting too to see the parallels that he has along with Lawrence's character, to see what they are both after. Charlotte Rampling plays the head mistress of the Sparrow school that Lawrence's character attends, and for the brief screen time she has, she does show a lot of ferociousness, but also some reserved nature with how she goes about teaching her students to become Sparrows. We have Matthias Skonart, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, I apologize if I butchered that, as Lawrence's character's uncle who helps her get into becoming a Sparrow. Jeremy Irons shows up here as a general. We also have Mary Louise Parker as this chief of staff for a US senator. Now, I mostly see her in some comedic roles, but oh man, she was out of place in this film. Even in this one sequence where she was necessary, yeah, I was laughing at her, but I don't think necessarily for the right reasons either. And there's even Kieran Hines who also shows up in the movie as well. Basically, for the most part, I think the supporting cast give Lawrence's character some nice backup, but it is Jennifer Lawrence who gives the standout performance here. The writing in this film sets up a very depressing and dour setting where Lawrence's character, again, is this ballerina. She provides for her mother, but then after her career is over for breaking her leg, she does become a Sparrow. And when we do go to the institution where she is learning to become a Sparrow, or horse school as she calls it, it's interesting to see the process of what she would go through in order to become a master or mistress of seduction and also some espionage. And this movie has gotten quite a bit of attention for how graphic it is, not just with the sexuality, but even some of the violence. And I have to say, yeah, it did catch me off guard in some instances. In fact, Lawrence bears it all even at one point in the movie, along with a bunch of other sexual situations she's in, such as being sexually assaulted, tortured, and even straight beaten. Yet, I would say it added more to the atmosphere of how really intense this universe is, in how it's not forgiving to those who are not willing to go into the spy espionage thing in Russia. When we do move away from the Sparrow training institution, in where Lawrence is literally out on the field being a spy, linking up with the CIA agent played by Joel Edgerton, the movie kind of loses its way throughout. Now, again, I was interested at first, especially in the first half, with the Sparrow training part and seeing how Lawrence's character becomes this spy. But then as the movie progresses and we see the mole trying to be discovered and a bunch of other stuff that happens with Lawrence's character not being sure which side she is on, the movie's narrative becomes uneven. And that's the biggest problem I would have to say this movie has. It's unbalanced in what it is trying to go for, and not everything is explained with the greatest of depth. It is unpredictable to say the least, which I will give the movie credit for presenting, as I welcome unpredictability in movies, but the way the movie flowed in general and how it had a tendency to leave me confused as to what was going on really with some of the characters' motivations and what they would do to get their jobs done. And with a movie like this also have a bunch of spy espionage, technical jargon and terms, I was intent on paying attention to what was really being shown on screen, yet at the same time it didn't give me everything that I wanted, and I actually wanted more explanation to see what was being done. Maybe some of these issues I have with the film story have to do with me not having read the book that this movie is based on, yet it is still a bumpy ride to go through the course of the film for what is being shown. The film is very much a slower burn when it comes down to it, and there's not that much in the way of action as well. The movie does begin with Edgerton's character being involved in a chase, which is intercut with sequences of Jennifer Lawrence's character doing a bunch of ballet and then leading to that career-ending accident. Yet, other than that, there's probably about one or two other scenes with some action, but it's not that much. So if you're looking for this to be a really fast-paced action thriller, you're going to be sorely disappointed, as this is mostly something that goes for a psychological and more meticulous angle, with Lawrence's character discovering who this mole actually is and interacting with Edgerton's character the whole time. In the midst of all this, though, we are treated to some top-tier technical merits throughout the film, which includes the costume design and production design. The costumes in the film, all of the outfits that Lawrence's character specifically wears, are on point. They make her look stunning and luminous. She's just so beautiful. Excuse me. Yeah, she looks great. The production design, how extravagant a lot of the locales look, them looking very nice even in this dark and gritty universe that we're viewing. And I also have to give a shout out to the score composed by James Newton Howard. It isn't very intrusive throughout the rest of the film, but in some of the ambience it does create, it is nicely complementing to what we do see on screen, along with the competent direction by Francis Lawrence, especially in some of the scenes where we get some engagement and then how some scenes were transitioned from one another as well, for the most part. I say for the most part in that aspect because what is connected to that in having the flow of the movie be uneven is its pacing. This movie is too long at about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I feel that if the editing was more streamlined, we could have had a more cohesive narrative, as some scenes tended to drag on with little rhyme or reason. Then when the movie concluded, no spoilers, it added on to the conflicted nature I have with it, because when all is seemingly revealed, including who the mole was this whole time, I feel like it wasn't necessarily earned in full. I don't think there was enough hints or sprinkling of minor details that were supposed to be emphasized enough for us to pick up on to make us go, aha, or have our minds blown. And all in all, just with my overall thoughts with the film, I did like a lot of what this movie tried to present to us, with this being a particular spy thriller that took its time, yet at the same time, some of its unpredictability didn't lead into something that felt like it flowed with clear coherence, as it just ended up being something that left me a bit too much in the dark. I've enjoyed other spy thrillers of the past that took different approaches in telling their narratives, such as Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, starring now Oscar winner Gary Oldman, which was much more reserved and slow as well, but had enough intrigue to go with multiple points of view that went all over and trying to discover who a mole was in that movie story as well. Even going way back into the 1960s with something like Charade, starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, which Hepburn specifically, as I've noted many times before too, is my favorite film actress of all time. This movie was unpredictable in its narrative too, yet it had a way more urgent pace and was about a half hour shorter than Red Sparrow. I would say that this movie is worth watching on some level for Jennifer Lawrence's magnificent performance and the lush aesthetics that are attributed with it. Yet, if you're looking for an action-packed, fast-paced spy thriller, you would want to steer clear of this movie, as it does not fit the bill, and some people are going to straight up be turned off by the graphic sexual violence and nudity. Some nudity in this film. For all of what I have said, I cautiously recommend Red Sparrow. My final verdict for Red Sparrow is 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Red Sparrow, social media links in the description, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.